Someone asked me today, they're like, I heard a rumor Cooper's getting fired. And I went, whoa. I don't think that's happening. But if you're the Lightning, I'm not saying you're the LA Kings, because the Kings, I think, need to have some real soul searching this offseason. Mm-hmm. Something fundamental about your team has to change. And that might sound strange to say on account of they just lost Steven Stamkos this past offseason, but there's a reason the Lightning let him walk, and that's because they felt like they could. And go look at the season he had in Nashville. Go look at the season that Nashville had. There's something not working there.
Well, and I looked at it too, and I thought, okay, did they do the Chicago Blackhawks thing where they tried to get the band back together, bringing back Ryan McDonough, Yanni Gourde, and losing guys like Sergachev, who, did they? Because look at Vasilevsky's save percentage, and again, 5 games, right? So it sucks, but over the last 3 years, Andrei Vasilevsky has not posted an over 900 save percentage in the playoffs. He's played 16 games. The 6 games against the Leafs in 22-23, he had an 875. The 5 games against the Panthers, he had an 897 last year. And then the 5 games this year, an 872. Is it a Vasilevsky conversation, or is it the team in front of him that's no longer as deep as it used to be?
Well, what do you get from this quote? This is from Eduardo A. Acina, who is Tampa Bay Lightning beat reporter for the TB Times. He's quoting Andrei Vasilevsky. When you go out there, you start the series at home with 6 goals against. What's our home playoff record last 10 games? I think we've won just 1 or 2. It's like, wow. I'm checking if there's any kids in the store. Okay, good. It's like, what the fuck is this? I just feel bad for the fans. They deserve much better than this. Now, that sounds like a goalie who is very frustrated with the team around him.
By statistics, a lot of people who analyze those things on like a very deep level said Tampa was an elite team this year.
They looked it. There's a reason I picked them. It's also because I thought the Panthers were hurt. But
Jesse, why did they get steamrolled like this?
I think some of it's got to do with the team they're playing. Like, I feel like if Tampa's up against up against a lesser opponent, not to call out any of the other teams in this playoffs, that they have a better chance at winning. And
this is just the Leafs conversation then. Oh, we keep running into the Bruins, keep running into the Lightning, though. Yeah. There's good teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, but like their first round matchup isn't the same as I think other teams' first round matchup.
Yeah,
like I think that's fair to say.
Yep. Second in the division, home ice advantage.
Yeah,
but it's the Cup champs.
Yeah, and if you wanna reframe the conversation a different way, you say, oh, then you should have won the division, then you get a better opponent and that sort of stuff. And that's a whole other point. I think specifically, like, this is the matchup they got, and that's what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. The Florida Panthers are just great at playing smothering defense. Paul Maurice talked about how they specifically emphasize cutting down gaps. Like, their whole thing is about gap control, and they have the guys to play that exact system that they want to play. And the Nikita Kucherov numbers about him not scoring, who are the last 10 playoff games he played against?
Panthers,
Florida Panthers, and the
Florida Panthers. So all of the matchups have been against this one team that
you're right, 5-5
that have excelled at shutting down superstars. What they did to McDavid in the Cup final too, where up until the game 3 when finally Edmonton found a way to unleash themselves and come back in that series, but like Game 5, sorry. Yeah. But up until that point, like, they did the same thing that they did to Nikita Kucherov. So I think you got to credit the Panthers.
Is it worth mentioning, though, that Nikita Kucherov against the Leafs defense in 2023, which was, I mean, we saw it last year. Imagine what 2023 looked like. He only had 1 goal then, too. Is that worth talking about? Is this a trend?
And that was in 6 games, right? So now we're up to 1 goal in 16 games.
And I know Ilya Samsonov was actually killer in that Lightning series, and the Lightning did outplay the Leafs in that series.
I think the stat is he doesn't have a goal for 15 straight playoff games. So he scored against the Leafs, and it would have been game 1, and he hasn't scored since. Like.
That Lightning team, I don't think, was particularly on it that playoff.
They're probably playing a lot of hockey.
So is the conclusion you're drawing Nikita Kucherov isn't good?
I would say he's not clutch.
I feel like we have enough evidence that
not Clutcherov.
Nikita Kucherov is a very good player and is a playoff performer based on what he did during the Cup runs, and that during the regular season, it's a lot easier with the amount of power plays they get, and power plays are limited during the playoffs, and space is limited during the playoffs, and right now his game isn't translating to the this playoff style of hockey, his team's not as good.
The support system,
The
right?
team around him isn't as good as he had, and the teams he's up against, a pretty good Leafs team that beat Tampa, I think, in a lot of those games, they were the better team. And then 2 times against Florida, who is so far superior than I think any other team in the National Hockey League right
The Atlantic Division.
It's tough, and their team overall isn't good.
It's just not.
It's not on the individual. It's the whole team.
When you look at the lineup, the way that they structured it for the last game. The Lightning used to have 2 first lines, right?
Yes, it was
really did.
unfair.
And when Yanni Gourde was at his best with the Lightning, who was he on a line with?
It was Blake Coleman and Barclay Goodrow.
And guess what line that was?
The third.
Right.
Unfair.
So you have
Forecheck,
Gensel,
forecheck,
Point,
forecheck,
Kucherov.
forecheck.
Crazy. Gensel, Point, Kucherov. But then I look at it and I go, I see 2 third lines and a fourth line after that.
Yeah.
Geeky, Paul, Gourde, Gonzalez, Goncalves, excuse me, Cirelli, Radish, and then obviously Gergenson's Glendening. That is a fourth line.
But their fourth line used to be another nightmare to contend with. It was friggin' Belmar, Maroon, and who else was out there? It was not fun. Oh, Perry.
Yeah.
Ew.
So they have significantly thinned out, as happened.
Yeah, and Adam, thank you for reading the forward group, because I think my overall point is like Kucherov shouldn't be to blame here for entirely his deficiencies here in the last 15 playoff games.
Yeah.
It's not about blame.
The entire 12 guys he's out there with isn't as good as what he used to be out there with.
In 2021, did he not win the Conn Smythe? Or in one of the 2 years?
Yeah, he
won
has
the
a Conn Smythe trophy.
So, yeah. It's not that he's a bad playoff performer. It's that there was a year where he was their most important performer, and in subsequent years, he's been neutralized. That is a fundamental change to your team.
Yes, and I don't think Nikita Kucherov has gotten so much worse as a player. I think everything about the Tampa Bay Lightning has gotten worse as a team.
Right. So it's harder for him to get away from matchups, harder for him to get away from the other team's best. That I'm on board with, for sure.
I think the Florida Panthers are facing a lesser opponent and know how to shut them down.
Damn. We were distracted by the shiny toys, Kucherov, Point, Gensel.
Yeah.
They
And
dismantled them.
McDonough's
McDonough's focus has got to be depth scoring, like second line.
And like
I think they gotta get a bit younger.
He got Borkstrand at the deadline. Like Borkstrand's injured,
it sucks.
couldn't make an impact on this series. And would have that changed anything? Like, did Julian Brisebois do enough here?
Is Yanni if you're winning
I
a
think
series
so.
against the Panthers, is Oliver Bjorkstrand the straw that breaks the camel's
Right,
back? I
that's
don't
what
think
I'm
Well,
so.
it's
yeah.
Bjorkstrand and Gord.
But we're talking about Bjorkstrand not playing versus Gordon was.
Right.
I don't think so.
Oh,
Jesse,
no.
is your point.
It's not what sinks the ship. No.
When do we have the mini referendum on getting rid of Stamkos? Like, in the end, are we all happy with that?
I feel like
It's like it made both parties worse. You know?
That's so true. Yeah.
Like,
And I think my
Who benefited
question was,
from that?
So
Right.
so okay, let's have a look here. The one thing that the Lightning were able to get J.J. Moser for Sergachev, and J.J. Moser looks like to be a good young defenseman on the way up.
I said it when it happened.
The one thing I'll say,
You want him on your first pairing?
No.
no, and so when you go,
But that's not a Moser problem. That's a Brisebois problem.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And that's, I think, the bigger issue here.
Right.
but when you and Sergachev spent a lot of the year.
I don't think I've ever mentioned Brisebois and problem in the same sentence. Like, this is a new conversation.
Sergachev spent a lot of the year on the IR. He had a really unfortunate injury early on. But guys making 8.5. You bring in McDonough,
Who's making 8.5?
Sergachev. He signed his new extension. He's gonna make
McDonough 6.75.
So you're telling me you were willing to pay $675 for McDonough. You weren't willing to go an extra $1,750,000 for Sergachev. This is the kind of talent bleeding that I'm talking about, and that's why I phrased it as
That was maybe not a great idea.
is this them trying to get the band back together after the best before date?
The Blackhawks thing you threw out there is a pretty good example.
Like it's you know what? Let's get rid of this Artemi Panarin guy. What's he ever going to be? Bring me Brandon Saad and bring me Cups. That is a little bit of what I see here. And it's not because Ryan McDonough is a bad player,
No.
or that he's not useful to them. It's because for your value per million with Sergachev is 10x what you would get from McDonough. No disrespect.
So one thing we're burying in this story is Sergachev was coming off a very serious injury, right? And he only played the one game in the playoffs. And, you can sign him to that extension, but who knows what you're getting? Well, here's what you're getting. In 77 games with Utah, 15 goals, which is a career high, 38 assists, which is the second best of his career, and 53 points, which is the second best of his career.
And he's also
And he's 26.
competitive and a pain in the ass.
Piece of crap.
Hates losing.
212 pounds, 6'3". Like, he's a gift of a player. Yeah, that I think might have been a mistake.
We've seen the New York Rangers fall. We've seen the Boston Bruins fall.
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to see the Tampa Bay Lightning reset? I feel like we have to.
They're a smart enough team and a cutthroat enough team. I think we saw that last year, that we can be pretty confident they're not just going to sit on their hands and do nothing this offseason. They're not ready to, like, they're certainly not going to rebuild.
Vasilevsky's only 30, right? Like
Well,
they have opportunity here, but they.
And look how good he was this
But
season.
what if they, like they did a few years ago before their cup run, what if it's a reset? So you take a year, you take 2 years, and you still make the playoffs, but you're collecting assets and you're growing players and you're building this team back.
I think they have a fascinating draft.
Yeah, well, I thought you should know this morning. First off, John Cooper said he can't see himself coaching anywhere else, despite the rumors.
Oh, good.
And
Well, I don't know where the rumors are coming from. It's literally I got a phone call from a friend who said they read it online.
Yeah, because
That's not a thing.
So the rumors are coming from Ryan Smith and John Cooper summer in the same location. They're good friends, and Ryan Smith reportedly wanted to lure John
The
Cooper,
owner of Utah?
the owner of the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah.
It wasn't like these weren't unfounded rumors. Like this was a thing, and
Okay.
people were speculating that if the Tampa Bay Lightning went out in the first round, that he might make a big push to possibly try and lure him from Tampa to coach the Utah Hockey Club. That's where it came from.
Cooper and Sergachev reunited would be very funny.
But it sounds like that's not going to happen.
what would you pay?
He did say that those conversations need to come from Tampa ownership and Julien Brisebois. And so the Tampa reporters this morning are saying, well, he's not going anywhere. That to me is not, I'm not going anywhere. That's, I can't see myself play. That Dubas said the same thing, and they fired him 3 days later. I can't see myself GMing
and he
anywhere
took
else,
a
and
job.
I might take a time. Yeah,
Like,
He had it-
immediately.
I'm sorry. Yeah, he had that job in the bag. Dubas does not sit at that press conference and say, I don't know if this is for me and my family, without knowing that Penguins offer was in his back pocket.
I'm not trying
a
to.
chance.
I'm not trying to pick on the guy. I think he's done probably a better job in Pittsburgh than he's gotten credit for. He doesn't get enough shit for that. He doesn't get enough shit for that performance. Maybe getting fired was him getting enough shit. I don't know.
Now,
Yeah, it sounds like you got all the shit.
Yeah, and then he got promoted.